Hi there, I'm James Osborne, the co-founder of the Recruitment Network, and this is the TRN Podcast. Every week, we unpack the strategies, the technologies, the processes and mindsets fueling today's top-performing recruitment agencies. We take a look behind the scenes of some great recruitment businesses. We listen to the real-life stories of those who have built those businesses, and we learn from some of the industry's greatest thought leaders to help you become both future fit and future relevant. So let's begin with this next episode of the TRM Podcast. So, Nicholas Barton, thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure.
The Barton Partnership, there's a clue in the name here. So before we get into that, where we're sort of talking about today, which is like where the hell's the industry going, what's going on, what's the future look like, Mystic Meg and all that.
Yeah.
Let's just go back to your career. An award-winning career. I'm going to drop that in, and I want you to drop in all your different awards, especially recently. But
well, how long you got?
Okay, fine, yeah, perfect. But let's just go back into how did you get into recruitment first and foremost?
Yeah,
and then just tell us your journey from start to where we are today.
Yeah, sure. Well, listen, great to be here. I've been looking forward to this. So, look, I think like most people who are in recruitment, I fell into it.
Yep.
And look, my background is relatively simple in the fact that I didn't go to university. I was studying at college. The original game plan for me was to become a physiotherapist. And then I looked at osteopathy, and I was studying osteopathy part-time. And while I was studying osteopathy part-time, I was working in a warehouse packing boxes. And that was my life for a couple of years, and then decided osteopathy wasn't for me. But during that time, I was working for this fashion company packing boxes, and I was getting promoted very quickly into the head office because I was working with a bunch of idiots. And then decided actually I want to work in the fashion industry. It's my family background. It was all in the industry. And so went to work in the head office for some fashion companies like Nicole Fari and French Connection, in production, getting the garments made. And thought, okay, this is my life. And then decided it wasn't my life. And then, decided actually my girlfriend at the time was working in recruitment. Mm-hmm. And said, look, you should try recruitment. I think you'd be good at it. Can't shut you up. You're always talking. So I thought, okay.
Is that the criteria to get in?
Yeah, I think it's just having the gift of the gab.
Right, yeah. And presumably nice clothing as well.
Well, know the industry. I mean, had shocking fashion sense, but I knew how to get stuff made. So, that was great. And I applied for a fashion recruitment company, a relatively new fashion recruitment company. Mm-hmm. And, went for the interview process and got offered the job. And I thought, well, I'm still relatively young. I'll give it a go. And so I knew the industry. I knew the fashion industry. I knew the roles that I was recruiting for that they brought me in to do, which was head office functions, because I'd worked with all of these people. So I knew what good looked like. And they taught me recruitment. And so I was based in Soho on Wardour Street, recruiting for all the main fashion houses, head office positions. They taught me how to recruit. As I say, I knew the industry and I loved it, and I absolutely loved it, and I fell in love with it, and I found my thing. Mm-hmm. And then after a few years, I thought, well, the challenge with the fashion industry is that it's the fashion industry, so it's very cyclical, it's very up and down. Yeah. One bad season and these companies won't hire. And also it's not high paying. And so I was meeting more and more people that have been in the industry for 30, 40 years that were still sort of earning 50, 60,000 pounds. And so there was obviously a cap on sort of how much one could make, even at the most senior level, because it wasn't a high paying industry. Mm-hmm. And by that stage, I thought, well, listen, I love recruitment more than the fashion industry. Let's look at another industry that I could do recruitment in. But the thing that was important for me, and this carries through until today, is that I needed to find something where I could buy into the topic and the subject matter. I didn't want to just do transactional recruitment. I had to sort of feel something for this.
Be interested in the market.
So I knew the fashion industry. I'd grown up, my family are all in the industry. I'd grown up in the rag trade, as it were. So I knew I'd lived and breathed it. Mm-hmm. And now I've become into recruitment. And so I interviewed for loads of recruitment businesses, and it was accounting recruitment and IT recruitment. And then I came across this advert in the Sunday Times when it was all about adverts in the Sunday Times on a Sunday for a recruitment business. And I met this guy called Paul Marsden, and he was running a business called Asprey Marsden. And at the time, all they were doing was banking recruitment, but he was based in the same building as Bain & Company. Yep. And that's the strategy consulting firm. And he said, look, I've got this firm upstairs called Bain. They do strategy consulting. I mean, this was in 99, just when the dot-com bubble was about to burst. We've got McKinsey down the road, BCG up the road. And there's this whole thing called strategy in industry, and it looks really interesting. And I really bought into him. He was, an entrepreneur, self-made. Again, like me, hadn't gone to university, hardworking. I thought, you're someone I can learn from, and this strategy thing sounds really interesting. And I gave it a go, and came on board, worked with him, built out this strategy practice. It turned out we were the first recruitment business in London to recruit into FTSE 100 companies for corporate strategy.
Okay.
So launched this corporate strategy recruitment division, taking people from consulting into industry across all industries and sectors. So quite
senior roles though.
Yeah, exactly. Like chief strategy officers,
Right, okay.
number twos to the heads of strategy, all the way so it was all the way down. So what we were saying was we were an inch wide and a mile deep.
Yep.
And I guess this will come onto our future conversation around sort of recruitment and how to distinguish yourself. But, we were very focused on the capability and the skill set, but we did it from senior to junior. So invariably we became a one-stop shop for corporate strategy recruitment.
Yep.
So rather than going and saying, right, we need to hire a head of strategy with this firm and then we need to build the team with that firm, actually we were saying is that we can find the head of strategy and then we can build the team around that individual because we now know them, we've placed them. And that worked really well. And so I built that team and we became the most profitable team in Asprey Marsden. We were the largest recruitment practice for strategy in London. And that was great. And then, in 2007, we sold the business through an MBO, Asprey Marsden. And I left with Paul.
Yep.
But the rest of the management team were locked in because they decided they didn't want to carry on doing commerce and industry as it was. They wanted to continue focusing on banking. Fine, great, amazing. So I left with so I had obviously an equity stake by then. I was a director in the business. So I left with my equity with Paul, and 4 days later, established the Barton Partnership brand on Company's House.
And I was always told never to call your recruitment company by your own name.
Yeah,
you're an example of that. Without I got that completely wrong.
Yeah, well, no, it's funny because I talk about that a lot actually, in the fact that I don't regret it, but if I could turn back the clock and do something different, it'd probably be that.
Okay.
I mean, it was a keeping the mother happy scenario.
Right. Okay.
So. Naming something after the Barton Partnership wasn't really an ego-driven thing. It just felt like a natural sort of, if I'm going out to market, I'd built the practice at Asprey Marsden. People knew me, Nick Barton, for corporate strategy recruitment. Despite the fact that I had a team, I was the focal point for that practice area.
Yeah.
So I guess to a point, logic dictated that if I put my name on the company, people would immediately recognise that it's me now, and I've done my own thing, and therefore, the business would sort of accelerate faster than if it was the Phoenix Partnership or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I know discredit to the Phoenix Partnership.
I know discredit to the Phoenix Partnership,
if there is one.
or Ollie Phoenix, who works for me. But but I'm just but it's sort of I could have come up with Emerald Recruitment or whatever. But so the Barton Partnership. So I launched the Barton Partnership, and again it took the essence of what I'd built at Asprey Marsden and used that to create again a specialist and focused recruitment business focused on strategy into industry as the starting point. And then that was 18 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we've entered our 18th year this year, and as you know, this year I've taken a decision to step back, and Ollie Phoenix has stepped up as CEO, as he has been. Quite
soon
frankly,
to change the name to the Phoenix Partnership.
Yes, so he will change. If he could, he would.
Yeah, sure.
But it's been a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
A hell of a journey, and today, having started it 18 years ago with just myself and a laptop, we're sort of just over 100 people across 3 offices globally, 3 head offices, as I call it. We're actually in more locations, but 3 head offices globally in London, New York, and Singapore. But we still remain very niche and very focused, and we can come on to that because I think that's for us has been a critical part of our success in continuing to grow this business over the last 18 years.
And how quickly did you want to go international, and what was the thinking behind that? Was it a value thing, or was it to service your customers in a better way?
So the challenge from day one, the question from day one was, the art of success as I saw it, and certainly based on conversations I was having, was from day one there was always the game plan that this is I want to grow something with a view and event down the line. Yeah. So when you start a business, there's 2 routes you can go. You can either go lifestyle route or build something with a view of an exit down the line. And so I knew from day one, having gone through the journey with Asprey Marsden, I knew that I wanted to build something with a view that at some point, when I'm ready, I've got something that I can sell. And so how do you create a valuable proposition but still remain niche and focused? That was the challenge and the question, and that's still the question today, is that, the art of success for me, and certainly in my world, has been, I don't want to be everything to everyone. And that's nothing against the broader firms that are out there, but for me, I've always wanted the Barton Partnership to be niche and specialist, built on a reputation that's known for doing something really, really well, not a number of different things that doesn't correlate. But to do that, then we knew that, okay, so we're going to stick to strategy as an area. That's now evolved to transformation as well, and that's part of our value journey. So the core capability of what we work with in terms of our candidate network has stayed relatively similar. But we knew then, well, we had to broaden our horizons beyond just the UK. So where do we go? And so, funny enough, I brought on a strategy consultant from our network to do a project, and I said, look, if you've got £1 to invest and grow this business internationally, where would you put that pound? And he did a complete sort of due diligence process, looked at the world, as it were, looked at our market, specifically strategy, and came back with 2 or 3 recommendations. And I already knew in the back of my mind that New York was going to be top of that list. I mean, certainly from a personal perspective, that's always been an area that I love the States and I love New York. So I thought, well, it should be New York, because consulting was born out of the US, and for us, what we need are hub locations like London, where you've got a mixture of different industries. Core head offices are sort of centralized in one location. So we need city locations where you've got a mixture of industry, private equity, consulting, financial services. And so New York was an obvious choice. 5 hours difference, we speak the same language, etc. And sure enough, he came back with New York. And so, then I started the process of starting to build up our brand from zero.
And with
New York.
boots on the ground in New York straight away?
No, definitely not.
Transact first at home.
Yeah, exactly. So again, I'd spoken to a lot of people about this, and I think, again, that's probably one of the key aspects of success for me has been, making sure I've got, people around me that I can always talk to and understand, what's best practice. And I think what came out of the conversations I was having were the people that had failed are the people that have said, right, we're going to New York or wherever, and we're going to invest 200 grand, and we're going to put a team on the ground day one, and we're going to build a business. And
small team for 200
grand. But go. And invariably they'd fail, right? Because they hadn't built a brand or anything. So I did the opposite. I did it the hard way, and perhaps even the slower way, which was, I just started picking up the phone from London, leveraging, we work with a lot of global multinational organizations. So simply, who's your opposite number in New York? Who can you introduce me to? Blah, 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 blah. And then through that, had conversations. And then, over a period of a couple of years, would make trips every month, every 2 months, for a week at a time. In 1 week, I had 40 meetings back to back. Right. Got back on the plane, sort of dribbling, sort of exhausted. But it was old school, even current school, tread the pavement and press the flesh. And it was, over time started building up a brand and a reputation, and we started making placements. And then once the placements started coming and we had a more established client base, it proved the model, and we were right, okay, we've got enough of a business now established in New York to justify a hire. So then we started that process, and I got very lucky, right? I found someone in New York, a British woman, who'd relocated over there, that had grown up in the recruitment industry in the UK, so knew how we worked, because the headhunting industry in the US is very different. So she understood UK recruitment approach and technique, etc. But she also understood our market, as in strategy. She'd been doing that in New York. Perfect. So we got lucky, right? And, got her on board and started building a business around her. And, I could talk for hours about the challenges and the benefits of the US market. But, where we are today is we've got just under 20 people now established over there. It's extremely profitable. For a long time, it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. The cultural differences there are definitely apparent, and so we had to be mindful of that. You can't just build a UK style recruitment business over there. You've got to adjust to their culture, and that's part of our learning curve.
And do you think with the US model, because a lot of people are doing it, and we obviously through TRM we've helped lots of people get out to the US. So a lot of people are doing it as a de-risk strategy. So if I can get 25% of my revenue coming from the US or another geographical footprint, if the UK goes a bit sour, I've still got that to rely upon.
Yeah.
Do you see it like that, or do you see it as, no, this is actually a really profitable part of the business that we can just keep expanding and pushing on its own entity? It's not there as a backup mate.
Well, it's both. Yeah. Right. Again, I mean, this goes back to the question of how do we grow, and how do we grow a niche recruitment company?
Yeah.
And not be exposed to any one particular market.
Yeah.
And so, when I launched the business 18 years ago, all we did was we recruited corporate strategy into corporates in the UK and predominantly London, permanent roles.
Yeah.
So, I'll give an example. Tesco, we built their corporate strategy team. In Tesco, we only had one stakeholder that we could support. That was the head of strategy, and we recruited for that team. And corporate strategy recruitment isn't high volume, so there was a constant need for us to keep going and finding new clients, and have a lot of clients, but be specialist around strategy.
Yeah.
If you fast forward to today, having gone from just recruiting permanent recruitment into industry and just strategy, today, if I went back to Tesco, in fact, we do support Tesco. There are 18 different stakeholders now that we could support in multiple locations across multiple service lines, but still focused around the same capability and skill set that we were looking at 18 years ago. Now that's evolved from just pure play corporate strategy to data and analytics, strategic finance, change and transformation, ESG sustainability. But that all comes back to individuals that at some point in their career have got a consulting background or toolkit. So we've stayed very niche and focused. We've got a business now where I've got 100 people talking the same language to the same people in multiple locations. We're not divisions that do different things, that are islands within a brand that don't actually have any correlation to one another. And to your question, international growth has been a part of, de-risking our position out of the UK, but also the US market is a fantastic market.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a fantastic market. And, it will account for 50% of our revenue. And, there's every expectation that actually it will exceed what we're doing in the UK in the next 18 months, 2 years.
Your journey today, and I know we've cut, was it 20 minutes talking about your entire life story, which is pretty good. But the reality is, it's a fairly textbook journey that you've created. If you were to write the blueprint of building a great 100-person mid-sized recruitment business, you've sort of followed it bit by perfect. You've probably written the blueprint, I would say, the print, which is great. Yeah. I suppose where we're looking at today is the market is shifting, the market is changing. Yeah. If you were knowing what you're seeing in the market today, and knowing or predicting what you think is going to happen tomorrow, would you have followed the same journey today, tomorrow? Or actually, if you were starting again today with a new blueprint, how different would it be in comparison to what you've done today? Which, by the way, and I should say this if people don't know this, you have won and bloody deservedly so a lot of awards for your business and for yourself as a leader, and because you have done this really, really textbookly well. Thank you. Now, a lot of people look at this and go, actually, this is how you do it. Yeah, right. And that's pretty special in our industry because a lot of people don't know how to do it or don't do it, basically. So,
well, I'd love to say I had all the answers from day one, but the reality is, I think that a key reason for the success is that from day one, I had people around me that knew what I didn't know. Yeah. And I think, I've always been a massive advocate of making sure that, you can't build a house without a solid foundation. And so from day one, I've made sure that as a business, we've had the right infrastructure and platform to build the business upon. And so there's a tortoise and hare with anything that you do. We could have gone out of the blocks, not invested in the business, not invested in infrastructure, not invested in people around me that knew what I didn't know, and just gone after it. But things would have caught up with us, as I've seen with other businesses, and we would have then had to play catch up in terms of putting it all together and making it work more efficiently. So from day one, I built a business knowing that we were going to scale and remain niche. Yeah. In answer to your question, would I have done anything differently? The answer is probably no, and that doesn't mean that we've nailed it, but I think we've made mistakes along the way, absolutely. Yep. And invariably, the majority of those have typically been just people that we've hired that haven't quite worked for one reason or another. But I think the strategy that we've adopted has been pretty spot on, which is stay focused and niche, not pretend to be everything to everyone, really focus on customer service, because I really put a lot of cadence on that, but don't keep that specialism, be known for something rather than, diluting your brand.
Yeah.
If Coca-Cola started making cars, people would look at it and think, well, that's ridiculous, right? If Apple started doing drinks, you'd think, well, no, these are brands that are known for something very specific. And again, the Barton Partnership is known for what we do in terms of the people that we represent.
Yeah.
And I don't want to start diluting that and becoming the next Michael Page or Robert Waters or whatever, which are great companies, but these are not
your company that you're trying to.
No. And so, I've had advisors around me from day one. I've hired well, and again, I've hired people that, they always say don't hire yourself, and that I've been very mindful of that from day one. And so I've always hired people that brought something to the table that I didn't have or know already. And so, as much as I've won awards, there's no way I would ever take credit for where we are today. It's the people that I've brought on board. I'll take credit for the hires that I've made.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But these are people that have had an impact on this business as much as I have. And, that's why we are where we are today. And so their knowledge and experience coupled with mine and the drive and the passion that we all have has created what we've got today. But I wouldn't have changed the strategy.
Yeah. But you do see that in your business. I remember the first time coming into your boardroom when we were doing some of those projects and we were working on it, and the diversity of the people in the room. There was some really interesting and good talent, but coming from very, very different angles all the time. Yeah. So you haven't created the sort of like, I'm going to create lots and lots of mini Nick Bartons, basically. It'll be awful, wouldn't it?
No,
that's
terrible.
You can do it with AI now, by the way. But you haven't done that. And I think that probably is one of your USPs, I think, and one of the things that's given you that sort of superpower to keep building and building and building. Yeah. The world is different now, though. I mean, I think, let's be honest. If you fast forward for the next 10 years, is the strategy stays the same? So, like, forget this whole AI stuff, forget all the other things that are going on, forget the fact that Trump's having an extraordinary play with the world and who talks to who and how they talk to them, etc. And let's just stick to what we do and carry on growing in the same deliberate way that we've always done for the last 18 years? Yeah. Or are you now thinking there might be a different angle now, or because there's things happening that aren't?
Well, I mean, we have typical. Already. I mean, the short answer is we have already. Yeah. So, and I can't talk about the broader industry in terms of what the answer is there. But if I look at what we've been doing, we've absolutely evolved our business away from just recruitment. And so, given what we do and the market that we operate in, we don't go to a business now and just say, look, we're a recruitment company. We are now effectively a talent solution provider, and end-to-end, strategy through to consulting through to recruitment to solution provider. So, the old model was you've got recruitment companies and you've got consulting firms. Yeah. And consulting firms will go in and sell a project, deliver the project. And then invariably the organisation would say, great, we don't want to obviously pay you anymore because you're costing us a fortune. We need to hire someone in, and they'll come to us. Well, what we've done over the last 8 years now is we've built up an independent consulting network, which has been accredited by Forbes and the Financial Times. We've got a bench now of around 10,000 full-time independent consultants, former strategy, transformation consultants, etc., globally. Yeah. That we can parachute in at short notice for short, medium, long-term projects. And so we've obviously then with that created a roster of client partners. Yep. Former partners from consulting that again we can introduce to our clients who are dealing with a challenge, don't have a solution. We'll say, well, look, we'll introduce you to so and so from our network. He was an expert or she was an expert in pricing at so and so. Why don't you have a chat with them? They can help you understand where the challenge is, create a solution. We can then build a team from our independent consulting network to deliver that solution through a statement of work in the same way a consulting firm would, but for up to 50% less because we don't carry the same overheads. Now, to be clear, that doesn't reflect, a weaker version. It's still a premium product. No, it's not the EasyJet of consulting. We're still a premium service, but we don't need to charge the overheads that a McKinsey, Bain, BCG or a Big Four would need to charge because we don't have that cost base. And so that started to disrupt. It doesn't resonate with large cap organizations because the boards of these companies, they need a brand name to deliver the work. It's really hitting home with the SME market. Okay. These are companies that have strategic issues, but don't necessarily have the budget to deliver that. Yep. And so what we've created now is the opportunity to provide a cost-effective solution to delivering a transformational strategic piece of work, deliver that piece of work and say, okay, we've now delivered that consulting piece. Let's bring on an interim consultant to manage the transition. And then while we're doing that, we'll take on the search.
Yep.
And so we're now in this halfway house between consulting and recruitment, where we are a talent solution provider and a true one-stop shop for any organisation that has any strategic or transformational challenge and needs a solution to it, be it consulting, interim or permanent search. And then when you overlay that with the global nature of our network, right? And so we are working with a lot of organisations, especially across private equity and their portfolio companies, where we can provide that solution on a global platform. And there's no business that matches the Barton Partnership in that regard. And so we've created a real distinction in that sense. Although there is competitors to our individual areas, there's no one company that matches the platform that we've created globally.
I'm trying to position myself with the fact that I see what you've created. I'm thinking like, well, can every recruitment company do this?
Well, I think it's
in their markets,
in their respective markets. If there is, I mean, the short answer is in certain markets, absolutely, yes, you can. If you've got, but it's taken us 8 to 10 years to get to this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't do it overnight.
Yeah.
You need the bench strength of consultants to be able to deliver a project credibly. And we've had former partners from McKinsey go on our behalf to organisations and genuinely turn around and say, listen, I've worked at McKinsey. I've never seen quality of consultants like this before. Because, with McKinsey or anyone else, they're great, obviously. But any consulting firm, when they staff a project, it's the best available people in that firm at the time that they'll put onto the project. Whereas we can put the best people on the project that have got relevant market experience. And and that's taken time to build that.
For sure. And are you investing time, and you talk about sort of the customer experience, are you investing time in that bench whilst they're not out? Yeah. Evolving them, developing them, help training them?
Well, we don't. So not to that extent.
It's not a train and deploy model.
No. But it's more just, it's another platform for them. A lot of these individuals are, either doing side projects themselves, or, it could be mothers that have, women that just had children that, don't want to go back to work full time. But want to stay sort of mentally active, etc. It could be people that are about to retire but still have a black book and they want to, there's any number of reasons why they're there. But we don't provide that level of training and support. But what we do is we provide access. Right. And, we've got, obviously an 18-year track record of building relationships across industry, private equity, financial services, etc. So we give them access to perhaps organisations and stakeholders that will give them the opportunity to partner with and work with. Do
you find that the people within your business, and obviously I know the people within your business, but have they got a different level of, I'm going to use the word maturity, I need to be careful how I say that, but let's go commercial maturity or business development maturity when it comes to selling a proposition like this? Because this is not a traditional recruitment sale, right? Going into a company and saying, I'm not going to dumb down recruitment now by doing that, what I'm just about to do, but, this is a far more mature, deeper sell.
So we've had to evolve that.
Your recruiters must be at a completely different level to a traditional recruiter.
Well, no. It's just it's about education and training.
You can't bring in a load of grads.
No. But it's about education and training. And I think what one of the key changes that we've made is, rather than an individual going out saying, "Hi, my name's Nick, and I do permanent recruitment," we've changed it from I to we, right? And rather than going out just selling your value proposition and then talking about the Barton Partnership and what the rest of the business can do, now when consultants go out within the business, we are the Barton Partnership. This is what we do. This is the value we can offer you as a client, and I sit on this part of the proposition, and this is what I do. So we've changed the order of sort of the introduction from, this is me and this is what I do and I work for the Barton Partnership and this is what we do, to, we are the Barton Partnership. This is the value proposition we can add to you and your organisation. These are the areas that we can support you on through these different platforms globally. And I can talk to you more specifically about permanent recruitment or consulting solutions or independent consulting. But when an individual goes to meet with an organisation for the first time, there'll be 2 or 3 people in that meeting from our side that cover the different aspects of our proposition. But there's been some upskilling, and we've got we've literally just hired an individual on board now to really drive that consulting solutions piece that has sold huge, large scale, statement of work consulting pieces.
Yeah.
And, through workshops that he'll be doing, again, will be part of that upskilling journey for the consultants in the business that have only known really the recruitment side, as it were. But we've had former partners from consulting come in and do workshops with us.
I was going to say.
Yeah. And so, again, it's all about the narrative and the language, really.
Yeah. So if someone said to you, what is the Barton Partnership? You wouldn't say you're a recruitment company.
No.
You call yourself a talent consultancy.
Talent solution provider.
Provider. Okay,
Absolutely.
fine.
Within that sort of, from strategy through to execution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. And I love that conceptually, because I think there's a lot of recruitment businesses trying to figure out how they move up the food chain.
Yeah.
And you've clearly done that, which is good. And I think a lot of people are just trying to figure out their way of doing it. And that consultancy piece obviously makes a huge amount of sense. At no point to that, we've been talking for almost 40 minutes now.
Wow.
We haven't mentioned the word AI. We haven't talked about technology at all.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But again, it goes back into that. This is the Nick Barton traditional blueprint model of growth. Let's talk about tech.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about it with regards to the influence on our industry?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm probably, the people that work for me in the business, certainly a couple of individuals will look at this and laugh if I'm starting to talk about tech, because I'm the least qualified, and that's why I've got people around me that are better qualified. But this is what I know, and this is sort of how this has been our strategy. I think, what we've learned about technology and recruitment is that, it's easy to overcomplicate it very quickly. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to say yes to everything, thinking that everything is going to have some level of value, and people forget about the importance of adoption. And so, you can have every single platform under the sun, but that utilization and adoption piece is more important than actually what you've got.
Yep.
And so the one rule of thumb that we've stuck to, and it's working, is less is more. Mm-hmm. Right, rather than just saying yes to every piece that comes along that you think could have some level of impact in terms of time or efficiency or engagement, we've kept our tech stack pretty simple, but effective.
Yeah.
And so, as a result of that, the adoption is far higher, mm-hmm. And the utilization is far greater, because we've kept it, as I say, relatively simple in that regard.
But you don't think you're missing a trick or being left behind when everyone else is talking about tech and AI right now? They're going like, we're building this, we're making this agentic this and all that sort of stuff.
Well, we have it to a point within our business, without doubt.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're assessing right now is whether Copilot is fit for purpose. Now, 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely. Mm-hmm. And now we're having a different conversation because Copilot is so broad. Yeah. Actually, are we going to get full utilization out of it? What do we actually want from Copilot, as an example, that really is going to move the dial forward?
Yeah.
Hire Aura was a tech platform that I invested in personally that's just been acquired by Access Group, right? Yeah. But we had that within the business, again, to help format CVs, but also create presentations. It's all about making sure that you've got the right... I think that the challenge is, it depends where you operate within the recruitment ecosystem, right? Yep. Whether it's executive search or blue collar recruitment, there isn't a one shoe fits all. Mm-hmm. In our market, human interaction is still critical.
Yep.
You cannot automate what we do. You can simplify, you can create greater efficiency, you can give time back to consultants, but AI isn't going to do our job for us. We still need that level of human interaction, and we've got to be mindful around that, because that's how you build rapport, empathy, and trust.
Yep.
And so we have definitely brought AI into the business to, ChatGPT, etc., and various tools. I'm a massive fan of Chat. I mean, I genuinely love ChatGPT. It's made my life so much easier. The guys are walking around now with. It's funny because I still walk around with a notepad and pen, right?
Yep.
But the guys are walking around with an iPad and they're writing their notes, and then it's immediately straight onto the CRM system, mm-hmm. right? Every conversation they're having, the notes are taken for them, puts it straight onto the system. I mean, the time efficiency that we're able to create now through AI is probably the biggest impact that we've seen on our business.
Yeah.
The outreach strategy, you and I have been talking around that. Again, we've got to be mindful that it can't be seen to be just spamming and
absolutely, yeah.
Right. It's got to be tailored and personalized. But if we can create a system that can continue working for us when we're not working, we need to look at that. And then it comes down to, well, what does good look like, and what does a big recruitment company look like? 10 years ago, a big recruitment company was defined by headcount and bums on seats.
Yep.
With technology now, no. You could have half the people and have business twice the size. if you're adopting the technology correctly. But it's all about that utilization.
So when you fast forward with the Barton Partnership, 5-10 years time, and the next phase of the strategy, is it less around headcount and more about utilization and contribution of the people you've got within the business?
100%. And also then then it's that interlaced that with our value proposition and initiatives like our key account strategy. We realized a couple of years ago that we're very good at winning new business, but we weren't good at creating value within existing organizations that we had a relationship with and a strong track record with. And so we've really been focused on that. And so, there are still some fundamentals of recruitment that technology won't change, like helping us understand actually where is the value creation opportunity with the clients that we have already. And then, how can we use technology to accelerate that, right? But technology will continue to evolve and play a key part. Trying to keep on top of it, I think, is a nightmare. But, again, as I said, we've kept it relatively simple. But for a transactional recruitment business, you could absolutely see how technology and AI is having a phenomenal impact on what they do. I watched a video the other day where someone was giving an interview using a chatbot and AI, and they weren't talking; they were just using their AI to actually have the interview on their behalf to get the job. I mean, that's scary, very scary, right? So.
We were chatting before with someone about we got an AI agent doing the interviewing, and you've got basically a fake AI agent created by a candidate. That's basically having the interview. So basically you got two AI agents talking to each other. No one knows actually whether anyone's true or right or they're fake or otherwise. Having a lovely conversation. But it's like, what is it? I mean, where's this going? So there's a real risk factor with this.
There is, and I think we've got to be guarded against that
for sure.
As an industry. Absolutely, we've got to remember that we are interacting and dealing with humans and emotions, right? And you're talking about providing someone with potentially a life-changing career opportunity.
Definitely.
And so whilst you can you can talk about companies and job descriptions, but there is always going to be and will continue to be that gut feel aspect when it comes to recruitment that AI will never replace.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's on both sides, right? There's our side. There's also the candidate side making a decision about their jobs and everything else. The over the last 12 months or so, we've seen some of the really bigger players have reported in their share pricing, everything else, the decline, et cetera. I see that as just part of the shake-up that's going on. I'm quite relaxed about it. But, fast forward again, looking forwards, do you think that the growth in our industry is going to come from the SME market, the mid-tier market, or the big players? Who's going to be leading the charge now moving forward? Because you've got the big players who have the resource to invest now. You've got some mid tiers that are PE backed, which actually, but they're basically saying, go and spend some money right now and figure this out because we want to go and take their market share. And then you've got these smaller, agile SMEs who are, to my last guest, who are just playing with stuff and really playing and innovating and coming up with some amazingly cool stuff. Who's going to lead the industry? Who's going to win in the next stage of this evolution?
It's a great question. I think again, my view is that there's going to be a greater level of consolidation again. I think we've seen a lull in M&A activity over the last few years for obvious reasons. I think that's going to change. I think there'll be greater consolidation. I think people are getting smarter around what that value proposition should look like and could look like, and how do we hedge our bets, both in terms of what we do, how we do it, and where we do it. I think there will always be, one of the most amazing things about our industry is that there is room for everyone to do anything anywhere. And so, it's not easy. And if it was easy, everyone would do it. But, I think there will continue to be, whilst technology will have some level of impact, especially perhaps on blue collar recruitment, I think there is always, I think white collar recruitment will be impacted, but it's still about relationship driven. It's still about a relationship-driven approach. It's about knowing your market, having that credibility, customer service, and quality of service. And
so nothing's changed from 18 years ago.
Well, in that regard, no. And I think, look, technology will continue to change how we engage our market. But in terms of what our market's going to look like and who the winners are, it will be the firms that I think continue to put customers first. Think about not what they can do, but what the customer needs and how they can adapt their service towards that. And I think that if you start with what the customer needs and how do we service that, then you've got a winning formula to creating something that will be, almost bulletproof to a point. But I think the larger players, have, they've overstretched themselves and overinvested in areas that have been impacted and slowed down. We came out of COVID, everyone was talking about the pharma industry. Let's get into the pharma industry. Bang, it exploded. That's taken a dip. So now that's being challenged. Technology had taken a dip. That's now starting to come back again. You could just look at all the different areas. ESG sustainability, that was a high growth area. That took a dip. Obviously, Trump's had an impact on that. The tariffs and the macroeconomic situations globally at the moment are having a challenge on different market areas. But, there is always going to be, the world will continue to revolve and, evolve, and there will always be a need for recruitment. If you can find that niche in that specialist area, if you can build a brand and a reputation in that space, if you don't try to do too much too soon, and if you put the customer first, then you've got a winning formula.
It is interesting though, because if you were to write the blueprint again 18 years ago, based on your story in hindsight and based on what you just said, I reckon they're pretty bloody similar. And I think that's actually, for me, and for people listening to this, I think that's really, really important, because a lot of people are nervous. Business leaders are nervous in recruitment companies, trying to figure out, what should I be doing? Should I be innovating, different first mover advantage, going international? What should I do? And you've just broken it back down to the 4 or 5 core basic things that actually have never changed in our industry.
No.
Maybe how we do it is changing, how we're evolving, and how we can use tech and AI to amplify that and everything else. The fundamentals haven't changed, right?
No, you just got to listen to your clients. What do they need, and how can you service that? And can you service that? And be honest and genuine, that if you can't, own it and say, listen, we don't do that, we can't do that, we're not best placed to do that. They'll respect you even more for that, and they'll come back to you because they trust you in the fact that you've got their interest, and not just you're trying to make a quick buck. And I think that principle has always been the same.
I'll close off on this question if you don't mind. You're quite a spokesperson for the industry, and I don't think you would necessarily call yourself that, I don't think, but you are naturally by default. I think a lot of people do look up to you and listen to your story and what you've done.
Thank you.
If you were representing our industry to the clients, to the end users, what would you be saying to those end users about the recruitment sector per se?
Listen, I love this industry. I do. I am an advocate for this industry. I do want to start doing more now that I've got some more time and I'm not playing golf. Then I do want to do more. I think there will always be a need for the recruitment industry, without doubt. That you need that engagement, that. Some of the best people that we place are people that are not active in the market. They're happy where they are. They need to be approached. They need to be understood. They need to be qualified. They need you need to build a relationship with them. People that we spoke to 2 years ago are people that we're placing now, right? It's not just active candidates that you're just facilitating a move. Here's a job, you're looking for a job, let's put it together. As an advocate for the industry, there will always be a need to have that intermediary. That constant person that is looking at the market, can see what the trends are, can see where the opportunities are. We have candidates coming to me all the time saying, listen, I'm not actively looking, but if something came up, I'd like to know about it. But that's what we do. It isn't just about reacting to a job that comes in and placing that job. It's being proactive as well.
Absolutely.
A strong proportion of the candidates that we place come on the back of introductions we've made to organisations that weren't actually looking to hire in the first place. But we've made an introduction and we said, listen, I know you're not hiring right now, but I know you've got a strategic challenge. And here's this individual that I know you've not spoken to before, but has this unique set of skills and experience that I think could add value to what you're doing. Do you want to meet them for a coffee? They'll meet for a coffee. And, 9 times out of 10, something will come on the back of that, i.e. they've created a role for that person, or actually we don't have awareness of the fact that someone within that business is about to move and this is the perfect hire. I think at the moment, the issue with recruitment is, companies will hire when someone sticks their hand up and says, I'm leaving. But invariably, most companies know that someone will change their job every 2 to 3 years, but they don't forward plan. So that's our job, is to help them think about that so that they're not caught short and they're not saying, listen, I've got a real problem here. I've just lost so-and-so. I've got a load of projects I need to deliver. We need to hire straight away. And there's always this panic hiring. So I think the recruitment industry plays a value from a strategic growth point of view in helping people manage their talent. And I think any company that's looking to continue moving forward, or even deal with the challenges that we're facing right now, the uncertainty, at the heart of that will be having the right people in the right positions at the right time. And that's what we do. That's what recruitment does, is making sure that companies are well placed to execute, their challenges, their strategic challenges going forward.
As much as I hope, and I know lots and lots of recruitment business leaders and recruiters will be listening to this, I really genuinely hope lots of end user customers listen to that as well, because it's absolutely spot on. And for years all of us have been vying for this positioning of a recruitment business. Like we move up the food chain. Let's stop being embarrassed or subservient, apologetic for doing what we do. Let's be truly proud of it. And more importantly, let's drive the initiative now. Let's drive the agenda.
Yeah.
And let's help our customers be better at what they're doing. And I think I genuinely hope that recruiters have the confidence after listening to that to go to their customer base and go, not in an arrogant way, but you need us as much as we need you.
Yeah.
Let's collaborate and work together. And let's partner. Yeah. And I think that's got to be a big part of it. I think so.
Of course.
Yeah. Hence the Barton Partnership, or the Phoenix Partnership if Ollie's listening today, sort of stuff.
Yeah, well, listen, that's next year.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Nick, really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely spot on. Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the TRN podcast. Thank you for listening. And make sure you grab the free episode toolkit. All the links are in the description. And click follow in your podcast app so you can get notified of our next episode. If you want to get more out of your business and your people, then please unlock 30 days from our platform, TRN World, for free. And help yourself to all our training content, our guides, our templates, and peer insights. You can get started at trnworld.com/trial. And finally, if you found this episode of the TRN podcast of use, please share it with your network and tag TRN on any socials with your takeaways. Otherwise, message us directly if we can help in any way. We do reply to every question. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the next TRN podcast.